Hello, everybody. We are back, and I'm excited to welcome a new host.
Hello.
As always, I am Aaron Wanjala, Java developer advocate here at Google Cloud. And yeah, I'm here with my delightful teammate, Mofi, who's filling in for us. Thank you very much for coming. Do you want to introduce yourself, Mofi?
Yeah, sure. I'm Mofi. I'm a developer advocate in the GKE team, focused mostly on GKE things as well as containers. Big fan of Go. And what else? Oh, I'm based out of New York. So if you're joining from any part of the world, feel free to drop that in the chat. I'd like to see at what time zone people are joining us from in these global things that we do. So yeah, happy to be here and interested to learn more things about Duet and Java.
Yeah, perfect. And that is exactly what we're here to do. Just learn in public, take your questions as they come, and hopefully do something kind of ambitious and interesting on stream to get you thinking about how you'd want to implement this stuff. Feel free to drop questions in the chat. Follow up with me or Mofi afterwards. We're both available on at the links here. And yeah, we're just going to get right into it here. If those of you who were here for the last stream may remember this little agenda screen, let me make it a little bit bigger. And so last time we got started on implementing the first one here. That was adding a service for AI image generation with Imagen or Imagine. And we got to an interesting point in that. We got to the point where we were connected with the service. We were getting errors that were saying something along the lines of your prompt isn't, or your request isn't formatted properly. Since then, I have gone ahead and patched that up. So now the image generation service, which I'll show you in a second, is working. It's a slightly different path. It's still implemented in Java, not the REST fallback that I was talking about, but it's using LangChain4j along the lines of the work from one of our other colleagues, Guillaume Laforge, from just a little while ago. If you're not familiar with LangChain4j, Mofi, I don't know if you are.
I mean, I'm familiar with LangChain. Is it just the Java implementation of LangChain, or is
Yeah,
it?
you know what? Let me not call it LangChain4j because it's not like that's a Java-ish naming convention. That's
Yeah.
not what it's officially called. It's just LangChain, and Guillaume implemented the Vertex implementation for LangChain. So I should be very clear about that. It
So is
is,
that still like a Java library, or like?
yeah, it's a Java
Okay.
library. You just have to, I mean, I'll be going over how we implemented it in this project. You just have to pull down a couple dependencies. They're not quite V1, they're still subject to change. But if you want to get in here and test things for your services, it's a very intuitive way to go about it. Very straightforward. It kind of feels like you're able to get right to the prompt engineering, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I think a bit of a background if people are not familiar with LangChain here, right? So LangChain in the world of AI, when you're doing prompting, you're like, if you're talking directly to a model, you are sending sometimes like system prompt and user prompt, and the if it's a dialogue trained model, then it would give you back information from that thing. With LangChain, the easiest way to think about LangChain, it's almost like I forget what is that company that like gives you basically like pluggable API for everything? Zapier. It's almost
Okay,
like
yeah.
Zapier for your like LLM application. You create these hooks, like this is gonna be my question, and take the output of this and plug into the next prompt, and you can create these chains that can start creating behaviors. And
Interesting.
so that's like when I thought, like saw the some of the documentation and some of the use cases of LangChain, that's the way it kind of like clicked in my head. And so I'm just gonna give that anecdote, probably help someone else as well to think about it that way.
I like that. I like that way of thinking about it. And yeah, so we're going to be going over a bit of that. Hopefully, you can, if you have any color to offer there, please feel free because this is all very new to me and very interesting, very fun to work with. So we're going to go over where we're at with that, and then ideally by the end of the stream, we still want to set the bar high for like things we're doing with Duet. We're going to upload the results of that image generation service to our cloud storage bucket, which is the original purpose of the image bucket service. Once we have those images in there and we're able to generate it based on a prompt, we're going to add a third endpoint to pull the images from the bucket, which should be fairly straightforward. And then we're going to have Duet build us a front end and help us style it. So if
Mhm.
you, like many developers that I know, are somebody who is not a fan of making front ends, styling them, working with CSS or whatever other styling libraries or approaches you work with, this may be the stream for you because I feel like Duet may be a good way to get around having to do all of this wrestling with CSS, and we're going to go over how that works.
Yeah, we'll see if Duet can center a div.
Yeah,
That'd be a real challenge.
that is the true mark for AI
Yeah,
effectiveness.
I mean,
All these benchmarks, we really need is centering divs.
yeah, jokes aside though, like I have had good luck using Duet for some of those like animation things in
Yeah.
CSS too, because I, for the life of me, can't remember like what is the order of things you need for the transition, timing, and the type of transition you're doing. And getting the starting point like that just Duet can provide for me. From there, I can go like fiddle around to get the just exact animation that I'm looking for.
Okay,
But
fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah, you
and
might
I
you
can
might
always go
actually.
like looking in the documentation to try to figure this out and find an example or something. But
Right.
just by saying in the CSS, I want to do this, or telling do it, I want to do this thing, usually it gets me like 90% of the way there. From there, it's just like, you know,
Then that's a huge time saver. Like
yeah.
I'm personally somebody who really likes styling and writing CSS. I find it kind of relaxing. But what I don't find relaxing is looking through docs and going to every you know styling libraries page and pulling down the getting started, the quick start every time. So if I can just stay in the IDE and do that, that's already a win for me. So cool. We'll get back to that. But for now, let's go over just what's changed in the project here since last stream. Um, it's really not a terrible amount. It's mostly within this image generation service. So if we remember from before, it was kind of the prediction, the more generic prediction model objects that we were dealing with protobufs as the inputs. Instead, what we have now, thanks to LangChain's Vertex implementation, which let's actually start in the POM. So we have LangChain4j as a dependency, and then we have LangChain4j's Vertex AI artifact as another. That's really all we need. And then from there, we get the concept of the Vertex AI image model. So we just pass it a builder. We use its builder, pass it the endpoint, which is the same as we were using in last stream, our region, the project ID, make sure to specify the publisher, and then the model name. So this ID corresponds to, I believe it's Imagen 2. For more detail, there is a wonderful blog post that I mentioned earlier from our colleague Guillaume, which I will link here in the chat. And yeah, you can specify Imagen 1 if you needed to. For I believe image editing is a use case that Imagen 1 is more suited for. So yeah, you have that flexibility. And then feeding the prompt in is just .generate prompt. There are also, if we were interested in seeing that, we could take a look at, I believe things like negative prompts are implemented in this. Being able to view and edit the safety parameters so we can see what the response is like. But just for the sake of being able to cover more than one topic, for sure, we have the image generation working. Now we're just gonna have to get through the rest of the agenda. So yeah. What do you think, Mofi? Is this about what you'd expected for the amount of code required to implement Imagen or LangChain?
I mean, so I do have a probably a love-hate relationship with Java. Like my first ever professional job was in Java, and it was like I got dropped into a code base that had already close to I would say like about 13 to 14 million lines of code in that code base. My first ever Maven build took 31 minutes. Um, it was a pretty big, like a pretty hefty project. So it like in an existing project for like been developed for over like a couple of years at that point.
Yeah,
So like getting dropped into a project that big definitely was not the best experience with the language Java. But at the same time, um, very few language in the ecosystem has survived long enough to become legacy.
right.
So it kind of speaks to the ecosystem or in some cases the perseverance of the Java developer community, right? So like to make this thing work by hell or high water. But this is one of the things I quite like about Java, the insistence of using design patterns, which
Yeah,
is in many ways very rigid as how you do things, but at the same time, if you just get dropped into any project and see this thing, it becomes immediately familiar, right? The moment I look at it,
absolutely.
I know it's doing a builder pattern. I know every single dot returns the same object, so I keep chaining. In some ways, Java implemented the first lang chain. No, that's a joke. Um,
Bold claims, bold
but
claims.
builder pattern, right? Like you can kind of do a lot with kind of chaining that thing over and over again. So the fact that it doesn't require a lot of code to get to the point, um, it is something that's probably not surprising to a lot of the folks that are familiar with Java, right? A lot of the things are probably happening at each of those dots that we ourselves are not having to worry about.
Yep, you're able to pack away a lot of complexity, and yeah, I like that kind of like you can orient yourself in a new code base because the patterns are so well thought out. Um, and yeah, I love the history of like the language developing over time with the improvement processes and all that. But this is not a Java love stream for me, so I won't fanboy too hard.
I mean, I
Instead,
think I'll keep you
yeah,
on check if you fanboy
thank
too
you.
hard in Java. I will be that boundary ceiling, if you will.
Perfect.
Um,
Yeah, but I mean, I guess being dropped in an unfamiliar code base is a good use case for Vertex. I guess in that case, it would be a very like it would be legacy code. You'd have a lot of stuff that other people wrote that is just unfamiliar. In this case, like this function is so new and it's based on a package that is like you know pre V1. So
yeah,
I
this
wonder.
actually makes me curious. Like, if you
Yeah,
do you have the duet chat available here
I
in
do.
this word?
I do.
If you just like were to select that bit of this whole like line 19 to 27 and did
Yeah.
a, like explain this,
Let me see. So explain
just
this.
wanted to see what it would say, like what is happening here.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. Um, So even though it is, I don't know if it's familiar with these artifacts because they've been on like Maven Central for such little time. Um, it does seem to be breaking down the code that we submitted like reasonably.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how much of that is basically contextualizing from the naming. Like we passed in the variable endpoint to a
Yeah,
function called dot endpoint.
yeah.
I mean, it is not like probably a major leap saying this is talking about an URL or an endpoint,
Some of the
right?
fine points are pretty like specific though. Like it says the publisher variable contains the name of the publisher that created the Vertex AI image generation model, which
Yeah,
I believe is correct.
yeah,
Um, I don't know if it's reading like Java docs for this. Is there any well, this is a decompiled class. I don't think it would have that, but I can go
right.
to the actual. No, that wouldn't have it either. Yeah, I'm not sure if that would actually be inference or if it's um, somehow reading that, but I mean it's definitely like a working um, explanation, working understanding of the code.
So if we like if before we build the UI out, is there anything we could generate with this from the API level, the image wise?
Yeah, no, we could definitely do that. So right now, what it's got for the rest of the API here, let me go back to the controller. So the controller has a couple endpoints on a slash image uh, path. We have the upload image where you pass in a multi-part file as the body, and then it uploads it to cloud storage. And then we have generate, which takes in a prompt and generates an image using ImageN. So right now, this does not do the whole like we originally set up to store this in cloud storage as well. It's not there yet, but we can do that now. Um, and yeah, we should be able to get the actual image out of here in some form. Um,
Maybe
and
yeah, the response is coming back as what it looks like.
so this is an object from LangChain,
Mhm.
and it's a pretty rich response object. Um, it does seem to be kind of a ready to use version of the full Vertex response.
Yeah, I mean, we that's another thing, right? We can, if we can talk to Duet about from this point, how do you go about saving this image to local system
Yeah,
somehow?
okay. Let's do that.
Let's try it and see.
So yeah, okay. We have yeah, I wonder without any like prompting. Let's just see.
Like, I think we select the line of code though, right? Like we
Yeah, we could do it with a line of code. We could do it in the chat. Let's do it with the code. Um, so okay, we'll select the line of code for context, and then ask the question.
yeah,
Why don't we say like, how can we take the image from this
from the
line?
response and save it as a, like a JPEG or PNG object in my local file system. That would be really impressive if Duet just knows, because again, it's a new code, and B, like I don't think the test just has this stuff, right? Like the
Yeah,
training data.
interesting. I'm interested in what it says. I don't know if we like. I think we could save it to our local file system, just to see that it's like valid. We could also just put it right in cloud storage and then kind of see what it says
Yeah, I
from
mean,
there.
I don't know. I feel like if I'm building something
Yeah,
directly going to cloud, that is, I feel like too many things that can fail at once.
fair.
I
You got
don't
a
know.
lot
I
of
feel
moving
like if I
parts.
could do something where I can see that this is working, then I can only worry about the other part, you know?
That
I
is
don't know.
fair. That is fair. We do already have the upload image, the upload
Oh, okay.
service working.
Well,
But I
the
mean, I want to see
past
if this.
Aaron and Mark has done things. So
Yeah, we've made a reusable, a composable service. Okay, so we have the response object going back.
before you
Yeah,
continue though, Aaron, we have a
yeah,
question that I'd like to highlight. I think this is a interesting question. This one is talking about, um, can we use Duet AI to create a REST API to connect to other Google Cloud products and app scripts? I would just take a pause to kind of answer that question. So
yeah.
the
Let's
first
talk
part
about
of it,
that.
like if we can connect to other Google Cloud products, I mean, most Google Cloud products have client APIs, API libraries, right? So yes, Duet can. I'm not super familiar with app scripts, but app scripts itself is like also like a client library, right? Like that you can, um, as a connecting part of it is basically just, so if you're, I'm just trying to clarify if the question is talking more about, like, can we do it like in our code using the help of Duet, or does Duet already have understanding of other Google Cloud sources that exist, right? If the first part, for sure, 100%. If we can do that in code, Duet is just a helper that does it. If Duet has context of other things, I think those are things that are like slowly coming out. I don't think at this point in time all of them are just all existing. I could be wrong, but
No, I'm. Yeah.
first part, yeah, first part's
Okay, good.
100%. If you're trying to kind of use client libraries, Duet has been trained extensively,
I
pretty much
agree.
all things Google Cloud.
With especially with things that are already well documented on our docs, you
Yeah.
have a really good. It's good. It's been good at like saving me time. Has a high success rate. For things like glue coding, like any kind of thing in, like you want to work with AppScript, you want to work with any kind of third party or any kind of like other, library, or language. It does depend on how much the body of work is out there, how popular it is, and how often it's used. I seem to think. Um, so it ranges, but we're going to have an example of that when we move on to the front end implementation later in this stream.
Yeah. All right.
Um,
So if you already have the code to upload it to cloud, we can just look in the storage bucket if the image gets generated.
Yeah, we could do that. I
Yeah.
do want to see what the quality of this response was, though. So it gets the response object from the image generation service, and then it seems to be treating this response, because it's just called response,
Hmm.
as more of like an HTTP response, like a response entity,
Yeah.
which I don't think is right. Like I don't think this even has a dot has error, because it's not an HTTP response. It's a image generation, like image generation models response. So
I
it's
mean,
very
okay, so do they have a get data field? They do not have a get data field. So
no.
that is a bit of a hallucination. So this is one of the things I was gonna say Java takes a negative point on,
Yeah,
because in Java there is such strong, almost like, what is the word for it? Like
like overloading.
overloading is one of the part of it, but like strong meta of naming things in a certain way. Like response
Oh,
is everything
naming
that
conventions.
response is a response. So if you're
Yeah.
training an AI model and that sees the word response, it
Yes.
becomes like exponentially more harder to kind of
Absolutely.
decipher what is this exact response we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Um,
No, the naming conventions are very rigid, and like that's a feature and a bug, blessing and a curse. But yeah, for this,
yeah,
pretty confusing for a model trying to learn from just text. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I agree.
But the
I
response object itself, like what is in there? Because right now we're just returning a string saying image generated, right?
Yeah,
So,
let's just run it and take and poke around as we go, and hopefully
oh yeah, we're
you
doing a
know.
breakpoint.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll debug it and then yeah, I'll return. Well, actually, maybe I should do it in the controller since this is kind of
Yeah, we
where we
can just
want to work with.
stop where the response object is valid, right? We can just see what's inside.
Yeah, perfect. And for the like generating the actual request, I have the like I have it in Postman here, where I've got like just a prompt like cat on a swing.
Mhm.
We could do whatever we want though. Maybe the chat has a suggestion.
I mean,
Um,
yeah, I'll take a chat suggestion, or we can our team mascot is a goat, so we can also go a goat on a swing.
yeah, let's do it.
Or if you want to really throw off, imagine it can be like a goat on a cat.
Hmm. Go on a cat, see what it does. Oh boy. Yeah, we're sending the request. Actually, I guess this will never resolve because it's got a breakpoint
Yeah,
here.
because it's gonna get
Um,
stopped, right? Here you
yeah,
go.
so
Come on.
we have the response. So it's collecting the data. The only time that
Oh, it has an
IntelliJ
image.
pauses. Hmm?
It does look like a base. It's a yeah. It can do response.content.base64 data. That's just the image.
Yes, so we have the actual image here. As far as like the functions that we have to work with that, we can play around with that in the inspector here. And then we can start figuring out how, well, I guess, yeah, no, you're right. We already have all we need, the base64 data.
Yeah, but
Um,
that's inside content. Is there like a helper method that does it? Because Java loves their helper methods.
yeah, I believe so. So, I mean, let's see. Let's see if Duet can help us with that. Or, I mean, that's kind of,
That's
let's
the
see.
challenge, right? Because response, the duet is gonna get hung up on the word response and be like, oh yeah, it's an HTTP thing, and we're talking about a response.
Yeah.
I think
Um,
content itself is there's a method called content. It looked like.
there's a method called content. Okay, yeah, that's I would have expected to get content, but fair enough. Okay, but yeah, dot get or dot base64 data. Um,
That's I could be wrong, but that seems more like a Kotlin thing where you don't actually put get and set. You just
it really,
name it, right?
yeah, no, it really could be.
So
Um,
Guillaume might be a man from the future and using
yeah,
Kotlin already.
coding
It's
in
only been
2030.
it's only been 8 years until Kotlin was gonna take over Java, but it's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming down the line. And so, yeah, we have base64 data here. But from what I know about images and displaying them, we're missing. Like I don't think we have the data here, but we don't have like the encoding or
Mhm.
um, like it might. Yeah, it probably has to
There
be
is no
decoded
MIME
and encoded.
type. Um,
No MIME type.
I mean, there
So
might be the content. Maybe then the URL we can have to parse out from the URL what type of image that is. See the URL right above base64 data.
true. Yeah. Okay. No, it says
It's
PNG
a
in there.
PNG file, so we
Okay.
might
So
have
that's
to like. I mean, unless
yeah.
again, is is there documentation for, or what would be the easiest way to like look this up? Like, what is the how to do this?
Well, I mean, I think I'm going to start by asking Duet. I'm going to see if it has like some advice for how can I convert a base 64, uh, I guess a
Image
byte array.
data to an image file, right? I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But
Because
let me
because
try that.
any image data, right, even the raw data, if it doesn't have any MIME type, it should first few bytes should be the information like the
That's
metadata for the image, right?
yeah. I was expecting to see like
I think we
data
should
for
mention
like,
the base64 image data too.
yeah. Let's do that. Base 64 image data because I was expecting that like semicolon data
Hmm.
slash and then like the file type. Um, okay. And there should be, I mean, it's Java. We should have a whole bunch of libraries to just do that for us. Um, So yeah, we have it actually pulled the
Oh
that's bizarre.
wow.
It pulled the
That,
image
yeah, it
data.
pulled from the debugger. I mean,
Yeah.
it didn't. I don't think it got the whole thing. Did it?
No, no, it
No.
didn't. That's definitely a truncated bit because
Yeah,
that's,
but the first few digit itself is. I appreciated it.
that's weird. Actually, I wonder if no, I think you're so slash is in the base64 char set. And I think we have the slash in there, but this first chunk, this might be the like the part that we were talking about, the like
Hmm.
data, the data tag with the metadata is what I'm getting at. Um, anyways, I don't need to get to the bottom of that. So yeah, it seems like we just need to decode this and then we'll have an image.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, yeah, but the still is the issue of we don't know the actual file type. I mean, since we know it's a PNG, you can just go with a PNG, and maybe most of the time we would be the Imagine would be sending us PNG, because if Imagine generates PNG for our library, there is no world where Imagine sometimes sends PNG and sometimes sends JPEG, right?
agreed. I think we can assume that. I think we can assume
Yeah,
that to be true because I think
because
that's a config option.
yeah,
You
we
can
know it's a PNG from the URL because it's
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so I think this, like, I think this might be what we need to get going. This basic 64 get decoder is really the answer I was looking for.
Yeah,
It gave
let's
us a
get
little bit more than that.
let's get it and see what happens.
So if we we're in the service or we're in the controller, so we can just call multiple services for this. We can go. We have our image upload service already auto wired into this controller, so we can just
So
go
what
image.
image upload? What does it want?
It wants a byte array for the image, which is perfect because we already have that.
Okay, yeah.
Oops, that is not
So
a
you can
thing.
just do like a base 64 get decoder decode and the pass the base
Yes.
64 from there.
Yes,
Yeah.
basics for decode, and then we go response dot.
We're just okay because in the example they were doing get decoder because and
Oh,
then
you're
do
right. You're right. You're right. You're right. Thank
I
you.
mean I mean decode base 64 might just be an overloaded function that does the same exact thing with that with just in a single step.
No, you know what? I don't. Is this unless this is a different? This is Java util base 64. Is that what I'm using
What are
here?
we getting?
Ah, Apache Commons. So that is a different base 64. That's why.
That's yeah,
Um,
that's another thing. I'm gonna I don't know, it's a bug and a feature. A feature and a bug, I guess, is that pretty much every single common Java package name is taken
because
and it's just like I mean, when I used to back in the day used to do Java, I used to use Eclipse and Eclipse used to struggle every time I'm pulling something, which exact library I'm trying to use. Because there is
right.
like 47 different like highly rated version of the same name library.
Yeah. No. Honestly, that is. Every package has 10 cousin packages that are slightly different implementations, and that you just have to have to deal with that, I guess. So it doesn't seem to like what I've got here. Maybe it just wants me to finish the. So yeah, the other part of the function that it's asking for
Give
is
it a name, right?
give the name. Yeah.
I mean, I
So
think for the name, what we should do, we should just get the name Imagine generated. So if we
oh,
get like grab the URL and split on slash and take the
yeah,
last one, that's just the name that Imagine gave it, right?
I like that. So let's rather than
So
typing that
what you
out.
could, I think one of the nice things you could do probably just
Yeah.
copy whatever is in URL and be like, from this, I want the file name. How can I do it?
Oh yeah. Okay. Let's try that.
Yeah,
Like
just
copy it to
copy
my
the
clipboard.
file colon slash the slash all of that. Oh yeah,
Okay.
copy.
Let's try that. Copy value to clipboard. And then how can I get just the file name at the end of this string? No, I mean programmatically.
Yeah, in Java. I think you have to
Um,
say
yes.
I just you can just say like in Java and see if Duet catches on in context.
Yeah. How would I do it in Java? Yeah,
Aha.
last
Yeah.
index of does that exist? Do I just not use that function and it is definitely there? Let's see. So let me actually do this in a
I mean
very
they're using file path last index of oh yeah, what they're oh no, I know. So basically they're treating that string as a like a null terminated array, right? And then do a substring, figuring out the substring from the point of the slash until the end of it.
Yes, I think that is correct.
I don't
And
think the file names code is actually accurate though. Substring of last index. Ooh, oh no, it's gonna do from that to the end. Never mind. Got it. Okay.
yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Okay,
I
so we
think
have content,
response, not content, or content and
no,
URL.
content, not file name. It's suggested file name, which is what I'm after, but not
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
there. Dot URL, and then I want to. So this URL is this an actual
No, I
like
think URL. Can open up URL and see what's inside URL
it's a
in
URI?
the debugger.
Oh yeah, it's a URI. So this is a different
Then we need
object.
path or string. We can either do path or string. Either would probably give us the same thing.
Yeah, I think we could do get raw path, or we could do toString. I'm gonna go get raw path just to avoid it pressing other metadata
Yeah,
into it. And then we want to do essentially what it suggested here. So we
yeah.
want to
Dot
do dot
last index of.
and
There we go.
then slash. I guess
That's
it should
gonna be a character, not a yeah.
and yeah, I
Oh,
think
this is not a string. This is an index, right? Like
yeah.
dot.
So let me move this up. Oops. So that is our.
That's gonna be the yeah.
Um, I mean, yeah. Last, I guess like file name start index,
Yeah,
and then we're going to go file path. Well, we can turn this into a variable too. Raw
yeah.
path. So
Sensible.
file name or no file path
Mm-hmm.
generated file path because we're going to have a eventually we're going to have a cloud storage file path too, which will be URL.
Yeah.
So we don't want to mix the two up. Generated file path, file name index starts. We're taking the everything. Oops, everything from beyond this slash on. So file generated file path dot
Substring.
last index of no, you're right,
No,
substring.
we did the index already. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then file name.
Start
File,
index.
nope. File name start index. Do we want the +1?
So we where the slash is, we want to count from the next one, right? And the
Yeah.
substring, the first, I think,
It
is
is zero
inclusive,
element.
and the last one is exclusive.
Yeah.
The
No,
plus one makes sense.
yes, the +1 makes sense. And then we'll print out the file name. So we have the file name where we want it, and we're just going to pass that in to the service here. So we're going to see how that does. And the return here is not ideal. It's just kind of saying image generated, which as an enhancement, we could have it return the URL of the resulting cloud storage object. We'll see if we get to that, but this should at least be enough to get us to test out the output of Duet, not Duet, Imogen.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I guess
Randall
that
commented like fence post problems are fun. I mean, yeah, I think it's fun when it's like you catch it the moment you do it. It's less fun when there is like a hidden bug like 6 months into a project and you have no idea why you did what you did.
mhm.
I mean, I know I have done that like at times where I put in a +1 or -1 and then I didn't explain why I did it. And like 6 months later, I came back. And why is a +1 here? You know what? I don't know anymore, but it is working and I'm not going to touch it.
Yeah, I definitely have those. Code that I wrote 6 months ago is going to have to be interpreted by comments or something like Duet because I have no memory. There's just too much to do.
Yeah.
So
There's this joke comment like on a code base that says like when I wrote this code, only God and I knew. Now only God knows.
yeah, I love that.
All right, we
Do
get
we
an
want to try
image
different prompt?
generated or a different prompt.
Do we? Yeah.
I mean, we'll open it up to the chat if they want to see something else. I mean, I know I feel like the first one we should do it because I don't know if it's gonna work yet. We're
True.
hopeful.
Fair. Yeah, I guess I'm a little ambitious here, but yeah, it should switch focus anyways when it breaks.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, we still have the break on?
I think so, and we don't really need it now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, let's just let it go. It didn't error out, so that's a good sign. And we have Cloud Code enabled here in the IDE, so we should be able to
Mhm. I think we
see.
got a. Is that an error? Permission denied?
Uh, Interesting. No, because it says the application is running. There's nothing in the debugger,
Oh, okay.
so
Cool. Cool. Cool.
let's see. The console doesn't seem to have. Yeah, okay. So it gave us the proper image and image
Hmm.
that, and we see that in the
It says we uploaded it to a bucket.
yeah. So okay, let's see if we can um, just copy resource name. Give me no. It's just the file name. So I guess we'll just navigate there through the cloud console.
Yeah.
Um,
Cloud
Unless do
storage
you
is
know?
at the quick access.
Yeah. Do you know if there's a it may be more optimization than we need, but is it possible to like request an image URL through the CLI? Is that a thing?
I think so. You just need to create that like short-lived thing, like authenticated URL. You can add like a timer on it. You can
Fair
just
enough.
click it as long as you're logged into this. It'll open the image or
Okay,
it downloads it.
it downloaded it. Um,
Not a fan. Anyway, it's fine. Doesn't matter.
it did open on my other monitor here, so there we
Haha.
go. We have a goat on a swing.
All right.
Success.
Now let's be truly daring. Let's ask for a goat on a cat.
Yeah, let's do it.
Eh,
So Randall actually asked a good question here. Don't need plus to escape the spaces in that URL, do we? Um, in the URL. You know what? I'm not sure. I like if we. I guess because it's such a strictly like generated file name, we don't in this case. But it's possible that ImageN returns a character that's not URL encode safe.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that is true. I mean, that's another bit of assumption because you imagine itself will have to generate that URL and pass things around. But if it
Hmm.
was not URL safe, that itself would break. But again,
But I
I don't
think
think we want to trust in a like a third party system in this case. In our case, it's kind of first party. But when you're calling an API, yeah, I think better practice would be
yeah,
to sanitize it ourselves.
Randall's
But
absolutely right. This would not make it much past the testing stage without
yeah,
sanitizing that file name. Oh, I see. Yes. So in the request here, I don't have to do it here because Postman is magic,
Postman just
and
replace everything with %20.
yeah, it does it for me, which I can see somehow. But
I think you could kind of like instead of sending, you can drop down to see like other versions of it, like curl and other things.
yes,
Like,
um,
oh no, not this one. Where did it go? We
body.
haven't used Postman in a second.
I forget how to. Yeah,
Is
but
it? Oh yeah, and that right side there is a code icon and out next to the right bar,
uh,
right above that one. Oh no, that's just a template. Yeah, here you go.
yes, they %20 it for us. They URL encode the request params. Um, or I guess this is a path param, but yeah. Um, Otherwise, yeah, that would if I was like writing that on curl and I didn't %20 it myself, it would fail. Um,
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, let's see that goat on a cat.
yeah, let's do it. Okay, go on a cat. Um, and we're going to need more of these prompts anyways. So if you in the chat want to
Yeah.
chime in, don't worry about it, Randall. We're all about the questions. So yeah, if there's anything you want to see
No,
more
no,
about,
yeah, 100%. I think this is um when if you were to try to send this question like this prompt programmatically, that's something we'd have to consider. And
yeah,
Postman kind of hides some of the complexity. And when we would go to do that, we'll probably stumble upon because we would build up this bad habit of
mhm.
not checking, sanitizing our URL that way.
The cat does look annoyed,
Yeah,
um, or maybe just
but that is a goat on a cat if I ever saw one.
yeah. And you know what? I don't actually know. Like, I didn't have to configure in this case because I think with normal Imagen, you'd have to say only give me one prediction. You have to configure that. But with LangChain, it just seems to have assumed you want one to begin with, um,
Yeah.
which is interesting. But yeah, perfect. Okay, so we have, let me go back to the agenda here. Cross this off because we have this working. We're uploading the images to the bucket. Now, yeah, I want a cat on a goat on a cat. Perfect. We'll just keep going all the way to the
Yeah.
moon. So now we want to pull the images from the bucket into the front end. Well, probably want to have a front end before we pull the images from the bucket into it.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go ahead and do that first. Let me move this up and leave the styling below pulling the images because I think it'll be more interesting to style it once we have images to pull. So I don't know if you have strong opinions about web app design, but what I'm thinking for brevity here is just going with the nested like web host that or web server that Spring Boot offers, the Tomcat server. Just putting a simple app in there in the resources folder, and then having it make like AJAX requests to our API here.
So are we talking about designing the structure of the page in HTML, CSS, or all of that in Java?
All of it in HTML, CSS.
Okay.
Yeah, we could do something with time leaf, but that
No,
would
no,
be
I'm not. I'm strictly against it.
for sure. Yeah, I think it's harder to maintain. Unless your
And
team's
you
really,
miss
really
out on a
big.
lot of the web standard that probably moves a lot faster than like a smaller community like time time leaf. You said I have never heard of it in my life.
Yeah, it's like I think it's a Spring specific project for
Gotcha.
like model view controlling. Anyways, so I'm just going to try to have Duet. Like we know that we can put an HTML file in this folder, and Tomcat will host it, and so that'll work well enough for our purposes, being able to see a page and hit these endpoints. So what I want to do is have Duet build me a front end that would be able to call these endpoints.
So from HTML, we're gonna like put in some JavaScript there that calls our endpoint. Do we have a endpoint to get an image? Yeah,
Not
not
yet.
yet. We're gonna do that later. Okay, cool.
Or wait, hold on. Maybe that's why I had that in the order that I had it. Yeah, I should probably have the endpoint to pull
Yeah,
images before we make
past
the front end.
past Aaron was wise. And then
Yeah, he was onto something. Okay, so unchange of plans. We're gonna just implement a simple get.
yeah.
And yeah, let's see.
Also, I mean, if you want to give a quick format, because that spacing of 45 to 44 is not
Yeah,
a
fair.
fan, if I may
Very
say.
fair. Reformat code.
There you go.
There we go. Nice and orderly. Okay, so we're gonna just have it. I'm just gonna suggest like
Yeah. Now for HTML, do we want the file to be downloaded from cloud storage and we can serve it that way, or do we want the raw base64 that you can jam into the image tag?
Interesting. What I want is just the URL, just the authenticated URL.
Gotcha. Okay, from like a cloud storage authenticated URL.
Yeah, I really just want a list of those URLs because I think that's the lightest request we can make.
Yeah, but the cloud storage authenticated URL is like that comes with a time box, right? Or
Does it?
I mean, so then the question is, like every time someone reloads the page, you're gonna basically make calls for all of the image that exist here, right? This
It
is like
is.
interesting design decision, right?
It is probably not efficient for in terms of like caching. Like I agree. You could absolutely like have because even if you did cache the responses to this call,
Mhm.
you would just be caching strings. You'd be saving the least time. So
Yeah.
it is a very like it's kind of kicking the can down the road for optimization.
Yeah, I mean, again, for now, I'm fine with either. But like the at some point, the question is, if it's a public facing website where people can go and see these images,
Yeah.
is it worth even to keep that bucket locked down? In the sense that like the content of the bucket,
I
um,
see. I see what you're saying.
right? So, because if we were to open up like particular bucket that just holds images that are for public viewing, all of a sudden, you can actually just pull the list of the URL and build a public URL. The problem set becomes simpler. Worse for security. So if anybody from security is watching, they're like, hitting their table, be like, what is this guy saying?
Yep.
But I think like the first pass of like, I think as in problem for Duet, trying to figure out how to get an authenticated URL is probably more interesting. And I think at the end of the day, that is the goal for things we're trying to do here. So in that context, probably it's probably more fun to do it that way. Yeah. We lost your audio for a second.
I muted myself.
There you go.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good consideration. I think you're right. Like, we, for the purposes of today, it works to just grab the URLs. I think the bucket might already be public.
Um,
No, it's subject to object ACLs. Never mind.
yeah, it's not. I don't think so.
Okay, fair. Okay. You know what? I think you're right. I think let's go ahead and just open up access to this bucket, and then we don't have to worry about the timing of the authenticated URLs being a hassle. So yeah, why don't we?
Would this be the same process if you wanted to? Oh, I should put this in the chat. We can talk about it. Would this
Yeah.
be the same process if you wanted to pull documents instead of images? Yeah, for the most part. I mean, for as far as cloud storage is concerned, everything is an object. Some of them have MIME types of files of PNG, TXT, JSON, but as far as like the mechanism to upload and download them, they're just raw bytes that happens to have some sort of file type.
Yep. Okay. Absolutely. And I'm trying to see how Duet does for granting us or giving us steps to like
That
just
looks
open.
accurate. I have done that before.
Yeah. Um,
So yeah,
which is
you in the permissions tab. Yeah, let's follow along. Let's see if we get to it.
permissions tab, and we go grant access, and we have to type in all users because I don't think it suggests this.
Yeah,
Just to be clear, this is not the safest thing.
yeah. We're gonna probably just do object viewer though, so which is they won't be able to change anything on the bucket.
Yeah. Viewer.
I think the best way to probably yeah, storage object viewer seems to be the one.
Allow public access. Plenty of warnings.
Yeah.
And
Only missing like red lights and like a siren sound.
yeah, and for just for like context, would you? So if you were to do this in an app that you were serving, would it be like you want to make sure that they're authenticated users, like all authenticated users instead of all users?
I mean, it depends, right? Like if you're talking about the context of, let's say you want images for a social media application. It seems like it is public image, but only people that are logged into your site should be able to see it. So in that context, you want authenticated user. But at the same time, on the other side, if you want to put images for, I don't know, like a news website where people just like browse and see things, you probably don't want those images to be behind an authentication because people are just in your website seeing things without logging in. So, but so now the good thing is if you just click on one of the images and if you take the URL, you can open it in a different browser window, like the public URL that you can just take it to a different browser window.
Interesting.
Downloads it. Well, if you put it in image tag, this would actually show up. So we can probably
that's perfect. But okay, no, and honestly, that makes sense, and it actually brings up an interesting point. Like I feel like in our first stream we talked about using this version of Duet for like more like reference material and like kind of idea stage aspects or like questions that you would ask as if you were talking to somebody who knew a lot about Google Cloud but not your project specifically. So let's see. I wonder what Duet would recommend if we were like, how can we optimize this for like page load? How can we like best serve images for fast page loads? I wonder what kind of recommendations it has. If it'll recommend different products or okay, so it does bring up Cloud CDN right away. And Yeah, first optimization is use a CDN. Second is optimize your images for web delivery. We haven't done that,
Yeah.
which I think ImageN could help us with. I think you can pick the level of interlacing. You can pick different file types. You can set a file size restriction.
I mean, even I feel like that is a problem. Solving that at the Vertex AI Imagine level is probably like when I'm generating image, my biggest concern probably is the quality of the image itself, right?
Yes.
Maybe this could very easily be a pipeline of cloud functions that just deals with the processing of the image for web once the image gets to me,
Right.
right?
Giving
Like
us
creating
thumbnails,
thumbnails, creating different
boxes.
versions of other
Yeah.
things, because that doesn't require AI. That's like a solved mathematical problem for the most
And
part that we know how to do.
yeah, true.
Um, right.
And
So
it'd be
things
cheaper
like,
in terms of just compute time if you wanted to
yeah.
do it with like, some node service, some cloud function.
And this is coming from me not knowing almost anything about the Imagen Vertex stuff. Like,
Mhm.
would adding all this option of interlacing and other layers of like filtering and other stuff, would it add to my latency or cost in any way? Because if it is, I would much rather do that in a separate step in the pipeline.
That is a good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would affect it. Yeah, I wonder. I want to ask the
and
the
and even like even more importantly, like would it in any way, like if I ask like, oh, do this in like, don't put too many colors or don't like make it too big or thing, does it somehow affect my quality of the image generated? Because again, when I'm generating image, my number one concern is the quality of the image itself,
quality.
not
Yeah,
necessarily like how big the image is or how much optimized it is for web. I don't really care
right.
about
I would much rather have like a high quality, and that's kind of the primitive, and I can feed that into other stuff and get what I
it.
need
Yeah.
out of other parts of my architecture.
And the part of the
Anyways,
CDN is like, you again, we probably want our application to be used by more people globally everywhere. Right now,
yes,
this image is in a bucket that is in a some US multiple regions. But if our user base is in Europe, they are paying that cost of going over like the network for like entire overseas to get the
yeah,
data. CDN would just make sure these images are locally available, the closest data center for that user, right? So, um, yeah.
definitely some trade offs to consider. But I'm pretty happy with that response. That was all right. As far as like giving you a direction to go, and you could tunnel down and ask more about each one of those. Um, Yeah, but we've gotten what we wanted. These images are now public to the internet, so now we have that public URL um, instead of the authenticated URL. And yeah, let's pull those in a GET request, and then
Mhm.
once we have that, we're ready to make the front end. So this was not what I was expecting, where it says a post that's get all images. Although the contents are pretty good. So I wouldn't want it to be a post just because this is a classically get use case. And we can just go
So there is
slash.
another question, and this probably goes beyond, and I'm going to assume what you and I both combined know. But the question basically says, can we round trip an image to a recognizer and use AI to confirm the recognized description is close to the original prompt? So it's
Interesting.
almost like generate an image, then somehow verify the generated image is,
That kind of sounds like a training step, or like you're like feeding it into like a
yeah,
like an not adversarial network, but like just having a supervisor.
yeah,
And like yeah, that is beyond my like
yeah.
my
I mean, if I,
actual
again,
implementation.
without any context of what is possible or not at this point as a, like API level, what it seems like is that if you're building a system like this that generates image, that might be like an integration test step, like a
Yes.
systems integration where like for every 1,000 image you generate, like randomly pull 5 of them and run it through some recognizer and then compare the image description to the
Yeah.
prompt that was given to it.
Or you can
Um,
even have that as like a Git hook for like when you're doing a release of your service, make sure that it
yeah,
meets this quality
like
bar.
you can do some regression testing to see the
Yeah.
last time we did it, we were doing like 98%. Now we're dropped to 87. What happened?
That would be cool. I've never done that personally, but I don't see
Yeah.
why you couldn't. And I like that idea.
But again, I don't know if Imagen has like a recognizer where like it takes an image and gives you description back.
I don't think
Uh,
Imogen is the model for that. I think we do have vision APIs that do
yeah,
that, but yeah, it would be something else.
yeah. So for production, it might be just like too expensive and too slow because you want to get things done. But in a controlled testing environment, to kind of know how the model is working for the use case that you have got going. Um,
Yeah, I would like that. That'd be a fun thing to implement too, and just like, yeah, do a lunch and learn for the team on like.
Yeah.
Anyways, no, I like the question. Please keep them coming. And yeah, so this is actually pretty close to what we wanted. The get mapping or the post mapping was wrong. That was just like, I think it was assuming from the rest of the function that I just like posts the most. So it kept implementing posts, but no, we like API design. We're gonna have a get mapping here. And then yes, that is like
But we
what I
still
would
want
name the
something on the
function.
path, though, right? We want to like slash something, not just at the root.
You could go like find all. I think this is like a matter of like
Yeah.
house style for API design, or like, but you could go slash and just have get all the images be.
No, because we want to probably do slash for the serving the root of the web, right? Web page.
So we do have a bit of a standoff here because the controller is at slash image,
Yeah.
and so now we'll have slash image slash find all. That's pretty intuitive. I like that.
Okay. We have a top level like a grouping. Sorry, I did not see that.
Yes,
Cool.
no worries. Yeah. Oh, we have another comment here. Oh yeah, interesting.
Yeah, like adding alt tags to images by pulling the description.
Hmm. I really think you could. Yeah, you could have it
Yeah.
like analyze metadata, and I haven't seen that implemented, but
Mhm.
conceptually it makes sense how you would go about that. Yeah, I should try that. But yeah, let's go ahead and implement this get all images function because this is, pretty much how I would put it. Oh, but it's not.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really belong in the image upload service. Maybe I should rename that service to just image service. A little refactoring as we go. Or like cloud storage image service.
Let's
That's
just call it
interesting.
image service. We could do other things later, or just yeah.
No,
I
I like
like
this.
keeping things more specific as long as like, but when it becomes it, when it seems like it is scoping into either bigger or smaller, we should be not afraid to update names as long as it is not names of public facing documentation API. We should
Yeah.
not just randomly change names.
Yeah, and once we've published the API, then we have to start versioning it. But yes, I also like the keeping the implementation out of our service names.
Mhm.
We don't need to get into the business of where we're storing the images, just what it's doing for us.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna well, not a string array, we'll say a list of strings. Get all image URLs,
Mhm.
and yes, so we're gonna have it just return all of the public URLs from all of the images in our bucket. So we already have the config for the bucket here. It's not fields though. These are currently uh, function variables, and we could make them final. Name is actually one that we're gonna use here, and we don't really need this variable, but yeah, we're gonna be genericizing the service a little bit, so it's now upload and fetch. And let's see how much of this Duet can do for us. Do you want to? I don't know how much you've worked with Duet, Mofi, but do you have like a? If you were approaching this, would you be using like type a comment and have it generate something? Would you be going in the chat and asking for a whole snippet?
Hmm. For me, it is probably more of I'll probably start writing the code
And then
and
just see what it
then
suggests. Yeah.
then see what it does. Or the other way would be like if I don't know how to start, I would just ask a question, like a more generic like question. It will give me some code. Then I'll probably think about if that could make sense. I'll probably slowly dive deeper into more specific questions.
Fair enough.
Like because and this is like this is kind of cheating because I have done this before and I know what the right solution is. So I don't want to
Oh,
like probe do it in a certain way to get the right result. So
yeah.
but like between you and me, I think because our bucket name is known, and the base URL for storage is also the same thing, we can actually simplify the problem quite a lot by just getting the list of objects in the bucket.
Okay.
Right? But I think the thing we're trying to solve is to get the URL.
Yep.
If we ask Duet how would I get the URL for this, and see how Duet kind of solves that problem, that is probably more interesting.
I
So
do
it
want
can
to
be
see
boring
that.
and just solve the problem, but you could also see the kind of test the limit.
No, and I feel like the right way to approach this is Duet is taking the first cut at it, and you are kind of supervising it as if you are the senior developer.
Yeah.
And so having an idea of a design in your mind is not. I wouldn't call that. I feel like that's a good way to approach a problem. And so yeah, let's go ahead and just see what it gives us for the original implementation, and then if it suggests getting the file names instead, fantastic. But let me go. So we could reuse the storage client.
Yeah, but let's just give it a comment and see what it does.
Sure.
Like list, give me a URL of all the items in a bucket. List all URLs, public URLs, I guess.
Yeah, public URLs in a given cloud storage bucket. Go.
There needs to be a go button.
Yeah.
There it is.
Okay. Let me just bring this in and see what it looks like. Okay. It gave me a sub function.
Huh.
Get all images, and it just pulled the. Interesting.
Where is the get all images being used?
It's not.
Okay.
So did it do the same thing twice? It kind of did. Yeah. But it gave me the sub function here. So let me assume that this sub function is what we're going to be. No, they're not quite the same.
They're not even they're not being called anywhere.
No. It gave us two different approaches to it. Interesting. So we are getting the service, and
also
then
the second one is not returning a string. Second one returning a list as well, right? Because storage.list.
Yeah, and then it's doing.
Oh no, they're joining at the end. Here you go. One of them return.
It's joining it all as a string, and that's not what I was after. But this is pretty much what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
If media link is the right object, we'll see about that. Sometimes you do end up with a mess of curly brackets at the end.
Yeah.
But okay, so we're streaming through the. So we go iterate all, and then we stream.
The stream we have to somehow import. Where is stream coming from?
So that would make sense as just a Java 11 plus language feature, but it's just weird that we're taking an iterator and then streaming. You'd have to do a little bit of a middle step there, which is, I'm assuming, why the compiler does not like that. So get all image URLs. So we have iterate all, and let me break the rest into a comment here and see if we can just follow along with that. So dot iterator dot stream. No, I mean, I don't think we have to. Okay, if we have an iterator, iterate all, we could go for each and then stream, or for each and then take this lambda stream map. Yeah, we can pretty much just iterate all stream. Yeah, there are a couple ways to do this. I want to see if Duet can give me this. Can I convert this? Yeah, okay. How can I convert an iterator to a string? And it should get the context from the. Let's see.
Yeah, let's make it a little bit bigger and see what you got.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to pop this out and go to a different view mode. I like float.
Okay.
And give it a little bit more room for the text box. Okay, so you would go stream.iterate and then pass in the iterator. So, yeah, I mean, can it refactor the line for me? I don't think that's valid. Let me see. No, not quite, but it did give me the roadmap of how to get there. So,
Yeah.
helpful. You're kind of saving some time where you'd be um, like I like that it lets me stay in the editor. Um, yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead and just try what it suggested the first time. So we have the iterator here, and no. Or is streams even a valid helper? Is it stream or stream? Stream dot
There is iterate, but it requires
iterate,
some
but
other things in there.
then you pass in and let's see. Yeah, so that is enough to. But this is also, we don't want to return the stream. We want to return
Mhm.
the collector of it. So we have dot map, and then we're taking the blob. Is media link valid? We'll see. So once we have
But there is
this,
a red under that whole thing. What is happening?
cannot resolve method iterate iterator. So iterate is expecting a unary operator. Okay, so it's expecting a consumer. So we can do that, but it feels like we're missing something here. We're not. We're kind of cramming it in, and that, like, yeah. But it's pretty. It's like a helpful kind of like reference here. Iterate iterator blob. Yeah, fair enough. We'll just go ahead and we could do it like this, but it's kind of, yeah, cannot resolve lambda. Interesting.
Someone commented, I just use Vertex to identify famous people. It does not blur like Bard does.
Oh,
Hmm. I mean, underneath, they should use same model. So I wonder why. Maybe like Vertex is under like a GCP project of some kind, and like Bard is just like public facing. That's why. I don't know.
maybe.
That's curious. Never tried it.
Yeah.
Also, it seems like other folks had have tried like uploading images to Vertex to get it to recognize stuff using probably the one of the Vision APIs.
Hmm.
So it definitely is like a valid use case to try generating something and then uploading it back, or like uploading an image to get like what is the thing? Um, what's the word you can put like in images that alt text.
Alt text. Ah, I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, rather than using this iterator here, we can do. Oh, so I actually, this was an incomplete sample. It's giving
Mm.
us an iterator, but then it's saying just go for each through it.
Oh.
Which, that would work. We can just go through it and collectors to stream. Yeah, I mean, I personally don't like the iterator to stream to list conversion.
Mhm.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and sidestep that and just return a list that I build normally. Yeah, I cannot think of a way to make that pretty live on stream. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just, yeah, build it normally.
Yeah.
And then we don't need to return this because it's now just a for each. And we don't actually need to supply this. We can just go result.add and let the Lambda do the work. Oh, wait, I need to get the actual media link. So item dot, we have etag md5 self link, media link. I don't know the difference between these two, or
I
if
mean, we
either of
can
them are
try
public.
printing both of them or just, oh yeah, we're adding them to places, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we can
Uh,
also ask Duet which one is
yeah.
which.
Let's try that.
I keep
What's the
forgetting we
difference?
have a omniscient being at our presence.
Yeah, the boss of us. Okay, so what's the difference between get media link and get self link? I feel like self link is going to be referring to like the whole object in cloud storage, or like a whole bunch of metadata and like
Yeah,
links to
yeah.
other like
It could also be the link in the style of like gs colon slash slash or like relative path to the bucket.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I want to ask, like, in the context of like this of a blob.
So it's a type blob of like you can also say like of type storage dot blob. So it probably has a bit more.
Yeah, let's see what it returns to that. Give
Okay.
me plenty of links
Thing.
to Java storage. So that's how I get them.
Oh, scroll down a little bit more.
Sure.
Self link and media link. Um,
Ah,
so let's go look at what our public URL looks like, and we can
yeah.
just like work backwards from there.
Let me actually split the windows here.
Yeah.
Um,
So the public URL has like storage.googleapis.com slash bucket name, then image name. That's what the media link looks like.
yeah.
And the self link looks like nothing we have got going here.
I
So
don't know what that is. Yeah.
let's just go with the media link and call it a day.
Let's go for it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to redock this actually. And then, because I think I'm done with most of it for now. And
Yeah.
yeah, just return the resulting list. And there we go. So now we have our brand new get all image URLs.
Mhm.
And we want to not return a string. We want to return a
List of strings.
list of strings. And you know what? It might not like that. It might not have the right response entity and have a bunch of things that we're after, but we will deal with that when we get to the front end.
You can just return now in this condition.
Yeah,
Right?
we could say no.
The other thing is we are gonna call this from like front end, right?
We are.
So that is gonna be like JavaScript calling like probably like fetch or something to do this.
Yeah. Something like that.
So do we need to kind of encode that into JSON,
So yes,
or
that
does
is
it do it automatically for us?
no.
Okay.
We only need to give it like a response entity, and that'll give
Yeah.
us the proper. Because otherwise, the front end will see like say like, oh, unexpected character with the opening bracket being the first
Mhm.
character.
Yeah.
Um, So, or maybe no, actually, I think just an array is valid JSON. It would just be very hard to work with. But anyways, we're gonna replace this with a.
Yeah. Would it?
We could do that now. Actually,
Doesn't it need QN value? I don't know. Yeah.
it yeah. No, you're right. I think it might not be parsed properly. Why don't we just ask Duet now? Like, how can we have this uh, function return a response?
Maybe we even like it's like select line 62 to 64
Yeah,
so
there
that
we go.
it knows what we're talking about. Yeah.
And so if you are familiar with Spring, the response entity is like a familiar concept. And so, yeah, it has very well-defined builders. The response entity, you can pass in, you can have the like builder give you a specific response entity,
Mhm.
and then it handles the error code or status code and saves you a bunch of time when you're implementing 50 functions that all
And
have.
we got to also update the return type, it looks like.
Yes, we will. And then the status is going to be okay. We'll include that. And it actually did give me the right response return type. Actually, I guess I could have just copied
I
this.
mean, we are not. I think we have to do line 64 update too, so that now if the return type does not match what we're saying we're going to return, right?
Yeah, I guess yeah. This whole
Now
response
it's happy. Now it likes.
was right. I didn't give Duet enough credit there. It pretty much gave me exactly what I was after.
Scroll down. Scroll to the right of the Duet response.
To the right, sure.
Yeah. So we copied everything. It looks like there's some deprecation happening, or no? This is just a yellow line, part of the scroll bar. No, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Looks all right.
So you were also returning some sort of like a status code. It looks like Duet did not do that. Is it like by default always 200, or OK means already 200?
I think when you use the OK builder or the OK function, it gives you that status code. It
Yeah.
says use the OK.
Yeah, it already does. It should be status OK.
Yeah.
Looks like. Okay, cool.
Cool. So I want to try this out in Postman, and then we're good to move on to the front end. And we're doing, I think, pretty good for time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a bit of time to get to the styling. So a goat on a cat on a goat. Why did I do that? I didn't need to generate a new image. I just needed.
Hey, I think that was a leftover request that we had in the chat in the past.
It's
So
been on my mind.
good. It is a good host behavior to kind of
Yeah.
fulfill those requests.
Image generate, and then
we're not generating, right? We're doing
You're
image
right.
get all or
find
something.
all. And I think that's it. Yeah, image find all.
Yeah.
Go. 404. Oh, I haven't restarted the
Oh.
service. That'll do.
Oh yeah. Ooh, negative point. Another one. No self restart to update changes.
Yeah, you can get that with either some fancy tooling or something in your IDE like JRebel.
But I think the difficulty there is like it's just such a heavy system every time it restarts. Like if you did every time you saved something, if you just started restarting, I don't know if that would end up being a good experience anyway.
So actually, with things like JRebel, it does kind of introspect the class path a little bit and only change with the classes that have changed.
Okay.
And it does hot reloading, so it's pretty nice. But I believe it's a paid service. I've only ever used it like in.
Huzzah! Okay.
Okay, we're crossing another thing off the agenda.
But go back one sec. Go back on that.
Sure.
Before we we can cross it. Looks done, but the URLs have additional stuff in that.
Yeah, what is that? Generations. Oh, that's like a storage consideration, right?
Yeah, I mean, we don't really care for it. I wonder if we just put it in the image tag anyway, it's not gonna care about it.
I don't think it will. And one of them is an alt tag, actually.
Oh yeah.
So some of them might be helpful.
Yeah, if anything.
Yeah. Okay. So great. That seems usable on the front end. Let's pick up this. I'm going to see if we can pick up the pace and get this front end built and styled in 15 minutes.
I mean, yeah, 15 minutes. Well, about 12, but who's counting?
Okay. So first things first, let me just clear off the old slate. Close all tabs. We want Duet to make the page for us, import those styling libraries, and style it. Let's see how that goes. So make feel free to jump in with a prompt. I'm just winging it.
Yeah, like it can be like write a simple web app that will display a number of images.
Yeah.
In a grid or a tiles.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we can start there for the base of the HTML, and then we're gonna come back with some question about the JavaScript for fetching and programmatically add it to the document, right? Things like that.
Yeah. Okay. It will display several images. I kind of want to overreach. I want to see if it can write something that calls all these endpoints and displays them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Let's see. Write a web page that I like that display the images in a grid though. We'll call the let's focus on the fetch endpoint, like the find all. In this file, and display the resulting images in a grid. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so
I see
let me
some. Oh,
copy.
I see Ajax.
I
Let's
see
just
Ajax
instead of
images.
let's just say don't use Ajax. Use the fetch API.
Okay.
Yeah, and be kind to Duet as well. While we're at it,
Yeah.
that's nice.
Okay. No,
Yeah,
it didn't.
immediately switch out
Oh, it did do it.
fetch.
Yeah. Perfect. But it's still using jQuery. How do you feel about jQuery?
I mean, just let's say just like jQuery is fine. I'm
Yeah.
not against jQuery, but we could just say use the DOM API instead of jQuery too.
Yeah.
Mm. For our use case, it's simple enough where we don't actually need to complicate things with.
I only like jQuery where it has like some really well designed function that I need
Mhm.
over vanilla JS. Otherwise, I find it's hard to maintain. So everybody
Yeah,
writes jQuery so differently.
I mean, fantastic. So
Uh,
div, and you can style that div however we want in a
yeah.
second.
Okay,
And
so
what
that
is it
looks like a
injecting? It's just injecting raw images. Cool, that's fine.
yeah image source. That's like pretty good.
I mean,
Let's create that file and give it a try.
hold on before. Oh yeah, they're putting it in there. Never mind. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Let's call it index.html.
I, I
Yeah.
would, I would, I
Um,
would say just like yeah, bulk
blow
copy
it
in
all
there.
away. And yeah, I'm going
Did you
to.
say like the path exactly was slash image slash find all?
I did not. I just said
Wow.
call. I just said call find all in this file. I think. Um, and so like that is something that like I would hand to a junior dev and be like, you'll figure this out. I'll be here if you need help. But like especially if it's like
So
a first task on the team, like
I know we are like speeding up for like finishing, but I think this point from Randall is something I personally like find myself agreeing quite a lot. Is
yeah,
like every time I have used this kind of Gen AI tools, what has happened is things I was already kind of good at, it made me faster.
yes,
And things did not know anything about, it actually made me slower because again, I generated something and then double guessed if the generation is actually accurate. So I had to go
mm,
back and find old documentation and like went down a bunch of extra rabbit holes that I probably could have avoided just by going to the original doc in the first place. So in some cases, it is more of a like it's like any tool that like in the hand of an expert it becomes better. And so I
no,
mean,
absolutely,
not to say like these tools are not going to just like revolutionize and make it more accessible for people, but at the same time, there is this learning curve of like mind mapping what I already know to how to use these tools. Very similar to like there is an art and tricks to like Googling things, asking questions, going to Stack Overflow, or like going to some other forum and asking questions. You are doing a very similar thing. Um, yeah. So and the like as you use this tool your brain kind of rewires to kind of ask in a way the tool is going to have the best chance of giving you the best result.
no, I absolutely agree. Like it is just more saving me time on things that I'm already pretty good at
Yeah.
doing. At least at this stage, and until that relationship can kind of flip, where or like tools like AI tools like this become good enough that they can teach you concepts in a like
Hmm.
very holistic way. Yeah, I don't see any kind of replacement coming either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it seems like I have missed something here. Um, I was expecting it to host the index.html page as soon as it dropped into resources.
Hmm.
But let me just check my math here. So we are still using Tomcat. Yep. And we're serving from yes, we should be serving from resources folder.
Hmm.
Um,
I mean there is we put the index html there and that didn't do it yet. Okay, cool.
yeah. Source main. So yeah, source main
I mean
resource should be.
the, this probably is a decent question for a Duet, be like in a Spring Boot, how do I serve a static html file?
Yeah, sure, we can try that.
Yeah.
Um, Let me full screen this again.
in a Spring Boot Tomcat or however you have to define this
Yeah,
sort
in
of
an
tag they've got
embedded
going.
Tomcat server inside of Spring Boot. Where's the root of the web host? Let's see if I've overloaded that. Source main resources. I agree. Yeah, so something
But
else.
this is actually, if you can read the last part of it, this is backwards because it is seeing that we put the index.html.
You're right. You're right. You're right. Let me.
So let's move that or rename that file to something else and go
Yeah.
like, where should I put index.html file in this project so that when someone goes to the root of my web server, they see the content of it.
Yeah. Spring Boot's web server to host it automatically. Yeah, it seems to agree. So if you have a file named about.html in the source main resources directory, the web server would automatically host it at the given URL.
Also, after
Yeah.
we updated the file, did we restart the server?
Oh, good question. We did not. And I think that
Okay.
is required. Yeah. Good question. See, this is why we pair program with Duet and with
Yeah.
others.
Yeah. Now it's a triple. It's not a pair. We have me,
We're
you,
not.
and Duet.
Yeah. By the way, one thing that I think got like easier to do is mob programming when everybody went remote and like everybody
Mhm.
started from different places. Like, I love the code with me features. We should do a code with me live
Wait,
stream.
what feature?
Like code with me, and they call it code with me in IntelliJ. I don't know what they call it in IntelliJ or
Huh.
in VS Code, but it's like you like remote into my
I think in
IDE.
VS Code it's a live share.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Slash
There
index.
is it says there's an explicit mapping for slash or slash error.
Yeah. There's no switch map. So it usually would say that when you're just like making a request to an invalid like
Path, right?
path.
Mm-hmm.
But that should be the right route for the web host. Anyways, we can. I guess we could just like preview the page and see how. I guess that might give us a cores issue though if we do that. Let me see
Yeah,
if that.
most likely.
Yeah, because the idea of having it in the same web host, web server, is that we don't struggle with.
But that is getting a 404, not cores.
And that would make sense because it's an incomplete path here because I don't have localhost.
Yeah, let's
Which
do.
I can do that for now. Localhost 8080 /image/file. Yeah, that'll do. And 404 not found. What do you? Oh,
No, this is going to a different path. We want to
that
go
is a
to.
different path. So if I host this and then inspect the request, cannot load it. Localhost, it doesn't like that. Okay, http:// There we go. Let's try that. What do we got? Cores. That's what we thought. So
I mean,
there.
do that enable course on Spring?
Yep, we can definitely just say it's a Spring. Well, let's do it. How to do it? It's just kind of a security config. I believe it's an applications property actually. How can we disable cores for a Spring controller?
Yeah, and also the other thing you can think about, like in this case, we're trying to serve the image, serve the HTML from the application itself, but there is like a whole thing of separating backend and frontend completely, where your frontend calls into the backend and not being served by the
Yes,
backend. So
absolutely. The only times that I would do this is if like, I'd really like these two are really tightly coupled. They're never going to change independently. I want like a very, very efficient kind of like scale down to zero service. And every request is going to be tightly coupled between the front end and something like this, which, might be good for an internal app, might be good for, something seasonal.
yeah, like also you can think of the same practice in like a Kubernetes cluster where you have the front end service and the back end service is internal service the front end can talk to, but the rest of the world cannot because it's a Kubernetes service, not publicly available via some load balancer.
Interesting.
Still course?
Seems like it's still coursing.
Did we
Actually,
stop and restart the service?
yeah, I don't actually know if it hit the service at all.
Oh.
Because well, let me see. Well, I guess that CORS issue would stop it from hitting the service, but I did stop and restart. X-frame
Okay.
option, same origin. Is that actually right,
It's not the
though?
same origin, though. Is it the same origin? Oh, yeah, it is from the same.
Mm, not quite, because like
You can
this.
just do any
Oh,
origin, right? Like asterisk. Like we want
yes.
the most open, and then
But
protection to
shouldn't
0.
be.
We don't have cross-site scripting. We
Yeah.
want cross-site scripting. Like I just wanted to do something for now.
Spring.htp.headers. Like I think there's a security policy. There's like a, geez, what is it? Dot frame origin. You can say like origin allow, origin all of them.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if frame
well,
options is going to be the one, but we'll see.
can I allow all origin for course?
Access control allow origin star. That's the line I was looking for.
There you go. You know, when in doubt, just give permission to everything.
Yeah.
And don't quote me on that one.
Yes.
This is only for local development, not for production application.
Mm-hmm. And we are, technically at time, but I'm just going to give it 5 more minutes here.
Yeah, I mean, we're so close to seeing like generated images showing up on website.
Yeah.
I mean, if we did this in like, I don't know, late 2022, this would like break the internet.
Yeah.
It's been like a few months since then, but like the first time like we showed generated image, like a website where you can like type in a prompt and image showed up. Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
So but it shows like in just a matter of few months almost, like how much this has changed, right? This has become,
Things really have accelerated. And they've got a lot more usable. So yeah, I feel like it's an interesting time to start trying these things out. Looks like we got a request, maybe? No, maybe not.
I mean, if you got a request, it should have done something.
Yeah. Still course.
Mm-hmm.
So find all. Is that exactly the same? / image localhost 8080 image find all. Yes, it is.
I mean, it's not a 404, so if it does 404, it'll just say we couldn't find it.
You're right. Yeah, it would have given me something else. Okay, so I can set the requests mode to no cores to fetch the course with cores enabled. Really? No access. So it should have been. Oh, it's not there. Access control allow origin. No, it is there. Access control. Set the requests mode to no cores. Okay. How can we set the requests? The requests mode to no cores.
One other thing I wanted us to try. Can you put the index.html in the static folder instead of just at the top level resources?
We can definitely try that. I did try that briefly, but it was also, we were trying other things at the same time.
Yeah, just wanted to stop and start again.
Yeah, let me actually stop debugging so it starts up a little bit faster because we're not really debugging anything.
Yeah, we're debugging in the real world now.
Yeah, no security, only checking functionality.
Yeah.
Play and yeah, I can't think of anything else that we're missing here.
I mean, there is also like a
the allow methods. That was a good suggestion. Access control. Is that a real thing actually? These are like headers. Yeah, these are not. Well, let's try them out on the next restart. So let's try a localhost plain. It did load it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Cannot read properties of undefined reading length. Good. Okay, so it did get a list. It did get an
Aha,
array.
static and bunch of this permission was it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so images.length. So
I
let's
think
check out.
it's not a value, it's a function. It has to be like a parentheses.
For images? Oh
No,
yeah, you're right.
array length.
And I think in JavaScript it is .length
That's
like
a variable.
that.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, it is.
let me start the debugger here and see what we're dealing with. So okay, we
can
have.
just print what images has and see what happens.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The best debugging is console.log. Changed my
Yeah.
mind.
I mean, the Chrome debugger is pretty amazing. Okay, what do we got here? We got data array 4, so that is a list, and doing array.length. If I open up the console here.
You can also see network, like what are we getting back?
Yeah, so we did get that here.
Yeah, you got an array.
Mm-hmm. And so let me just go back to the debugger here. Okay. So here we are. Yeah, we can just start working in the JavaScript here. And so array images.length, I'm pretty sure that is.
There is a possibility that like images is not considered array at that point, like it's an object or some kind.
It could be. But yeah, let's just console log images.
No, it's failing at images.length, so you should just probably do like a type of images right above.
Sure.
And that goes in like console.log.
Oops.
Yeah, let's. Why doesn't it like that? Yeah, it should be fine.
Let's see.
Does that need to restart?
I need to refresh the page, but other than that, no. Let me also get rid of that breakpoint. And see what we've got. So we didn't get anything in the console log. But what we can do is just like, okay, this is also being slightly changed. No, it's right. Images.length. I'm like
no, but
positive.
this doesn't have the logs we added, so it's not the newest version of this page.
Oh, you're right. Empty cache and hard reload. Does it have the updated sources? Nope.
Did we stop and retry because it's part of our static folder?
I hope we don't have to. I think we do actually.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. Let's see. There's no more. There's no more breakpoint. Yeah, I think we do have to restart.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
That is unfortunate, but yeah, JavaScript images.length. Confident that's right. Because if I can just play around the console and confirm that.
Yeah, no,
but
yeah, length should work, but
it seems like it's empty when we get there.
But again, still it doesn't have the newest, the thing we added to. Did we not save it?
No, this is just like the old. I haven't refreshed the page because it's still restarting. I think I do see what the issue is. It's just that it's going data.data, and there's no like the response was just an array. So if we just remove .data, I'm pretty sure that'll work.
Okay.
And then yeah, we're just.
Oh yeah, data was already images.
It was already a list of just URLs.
And data was undefined. Gotcha.
Yeah. So once that restarts, I'm pretty sure we'll have a gallery.
Whoa, this is bold claim.
And
all right, moment of truth.
About 2 seconds for that to restart.
Yeah, okay. Uh-oh.
Yay! Okay, there's a picture of my cats.
What?
That's my.
That is the one you uploaded last time. I remember.
The first image we uploaded. Goat on a goat. and then we have a goat on a cat. Did we ever get the goat on a cat on a goat?
I think it's the middle one was supposed to be goat and a cat and a goat, but we got to the cat somehow. The cat
Oh, we
left.
missed the cat. It was one too
We
many.
we took too long to finish the HTML. Cat
Oh
left.
no, it got bored.
Yeah, cats are,
Okay,
or like one of the extra cat is like you have it here in the other thing.
yeah. As our final act here, let's see if we can have Duet implement
Like a nice
something.
styling, like make all
Yeah.
the images. Okay, yeah.
So one thing I'm thinking is, like, first off, like, um, can we implement like material design on this web page, and make the image tags like, let's say 200 by 300, 200 by 300,
Mm-hmm.
or 200 pixels wide, 300 pixels wide. Let's go with that.
All right, it's doing things. This is still
There's
oh,
300, and it seems to have brought in a whole bunch of styling for us here.
I don't know. That's
And
like
we'll
too
just
small. Are
we'll
you
just
just gonna okay?
yeah, we'll just see how that goes. So MDL, that looks right. I think that's the shortened link for
Okay,
material.
let's scroll down and see what they actually did. Still did data again or not?
Sure. Let's let me make this maximized here. Okay, so it did pull the images with the
Yeah.
correct URL. Doesn't seem to have
Mhm.
undone our work. Pulled data in there properly, images properly, set the width tag of the image, which is not, how I would do it, but
Yeah, I
fair enough.
probably would put that in styling. I
Yep.
mean, that's a conversation you can have with Duet.
Yeah. And in the next session, if we do continue with this, if you're interested in seeing this like styling content, let us know. If Duet, do you think it could save you
Yeah.
time writing CSS? We can do like an inner dev loop stream where we're just like having Duet do the styling work for us.
I mean,
So
a,
let us
a
know if you're interested.
compiling stream could be like you have Duet on one side and me on the other side trying to like center a div
As a
and see
race.
who wins.
I like
It's a
that.
race. Yeah, that would be like a
Yeah. All right. So it did implement material design, it seems, with specifically the material indigo pink default style. Like,
mhm.
how material design has like a dual color palette with an accent or primary, secondary.
Yeah.
And then it did set the image width to 300 as
I mean, that
expected.
was like a hard coded on JavaScript, right? So
Yeah. And it did
ideally, we
actually put them
probably
in a
want
grid.
that to be in the styling, not JavaScript. The other
True.
thing also is like the image that you had manually yourself, that's the only odd one out because that has a different aspect ratio. Because if we
True.
only use the images from coming from generated, we actually kind of can skip some of the styling stuff because they would already be same sized.
Right. We could.
But in either
I guess.
case, right? Like I think, and now that this is working, we can probably in a future session or like offline go back and look at our course settings and slowly tighten it back up because right now we actually should not have any course problem. It is the same
Yeah.
website, right? Same application.
Absolutely. I don't think the cores is necessary. Um, and yeah, as tempted as I am to continue tinkering here, I think we probably should wrap it up unless we have any more questions before we go. But I'm proud to
No, not
say,
really. I'm gonna yeah, just stop. We're gonna just put us in the screen and that's
yeah,
fun. I think yeah, I think those questions that people were asking about, kind of like the dev cycle or just general questions, it is part of that like loop of I'm going to do something, I'm going to ask this question, and how broad versus how narrow you go. It is kind of with practice, and also I think kind of depends on the problem you're trying to solve. If it is a more of a broad problem, a lot of people have had probably in the past, you can probably get away with like asking a much bigger question.
yes,
Versus if you're trying to do something very specific that many people would not have done before, you might have to kind of break it down as very small chunks for Duet.
absolutely. It kind of depends on how well trafficked the question is, like how many people have been on that exact path. So, but it saved us a bit of time here and there. Didn't get everything right, of course, but I'm kind of getting used to the staying in your IDE way of working rather than going out to
Yeah.
Google or anything else to look things up. And I'm happy that we got everything done on the agenda today. So we're
Yeah.
getting a little bit more productive as the streams go. Um, yeah, and I think there's a lot to be learned about like which use cases to pick it up from, because you
Hmm.
mentioned it during the stream, like you said, um, you know, you were kind of like trying to pick between the different use cases, and I think a use case where it's easy to check the work, and like it's not that brittle if something is slightly off, is
Yeah.
the ideal spot, and you can drop either one of those. But if you're dropping both of those factors, then I may just do it manually. That's kind of
Yeah.
my rule of thumb.
Exactly. Exactly. I think, I mean, another use case probably would be interesting to do because we already have a way to generate the image and we have
Mhm.
a way to show the image. So if we can just like have a way to call the generation step from the UI where you can type
Yes,
in a prompt and click it and the web just page just refreshes after the new image comes in.
we could definitely do that.
Can
That'd
just,
be fun.
yeah.
Yeah, we could get into that. We could add more functionality in the next
Mhm.
session. We could do more styling in the next
Yeah.
session. It's all about
I think it'd be cool to like images have some border, nice like circular, what is the border thing?
yeah,
Like a
round the
rounded border. Yeah, not
radius.
circular border. Yeah, that's where it's at. Like
That,
that 16 or 64 pixel rounding.
yep. There you go. Now you sound like a designer.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm
we
I'm
can.
I'm using a power like multiplier of 16. Those come from my like back in the day when I used to like play around with some of the Android stuff. Android material design is very strict on that 16, like
All those
8
multiples.
multiplier.
Mm.
So
But yeah, thank you for joining us,
oh yeah,
Mofi.
absolutely. It is a pleasure. Yeah, and thanks to the folks that stayed with us, and thanks for all the questions. I think they were very insightful, and
The
yeah,
questions were great. Yeah, had a lot of fun, and we will see you, at the same time next week. Yeah, looking forward to it. Have a good night, everybody.